Hi there. How's everybody doing today? All right. Welcome to Light Body Evolution. I just posted on my Facebook page the Zoom link if you would like to come on and hang out with us. I do see the comments down here also, possibly. So, what is Light Body Evolution? So, Light Body Evolution is a course that I do weekly, and it's all about healing. It's all about recognizing the patterns of validation in life, where we seek things outside of ourselves and shut down from receiving. So, I'm hoping for some audience participation. Let's do some live healing. You guys want to understand what light body evolution is? I can run my mouth all day, but experiencing it and what we call collapsing charge is huge. And maybe some background while we're waiting on anybody to come into the webinar. And if you go to my Facebook page, and it looks like somebody has. All right, Delia, promote to panelists. Let's bring you on. All right, and let me get a screen share going here. All right. Okay, let's see here. I see Delia coming up there, gallery. Let's share that screen. How do we do that? Okay. All right. So, I don't know if Delia wants to come on and play yet, but we do have the screen for you set up. Light Body Evolution, Live Healing. Your development of awareness, this is what we get into. So if you're an energy worker, this is what we do. And I'm putting Delia, getting her kind of set up there. All right. So yeah, this is what we do. And if anybody wants to come on and do some live healing, you are welcome to. And it looks like Delia's going to join me here. Hi there.
Wow, unexpected.
Ooh, turn your volume down just a little bit. It's pretty hot.
Okay, is that better?
No, it's still really hot. Do you have your speakers on?
Um, Maybe if I try.
Oof. Yeah, you just want to bring your volume quite a bit down. It's really hot.
Does that sound better?
Actually, that's all me. Let me take care of that. Try that again.
Okay, that sound better?
Oh, that's much better. That's much better. Okay, cool. Well, let me get up. Let me get my volume up and on this screen with you. There we go. There you go. Okay. So, what's going on? How's it going?
It's going, it's flowing.
Excellent.
What can we say? It's tell us about the comment. I want to hear about what's going on. Any insights?
Well, it's more than just that comment. That comment is a very small influence for what's really going on right now, yeah? I think that we're beginning to understand gravity in a much bigger way. And I think that can change things big time, actually. But yeah, everybody's freaking out about the comment, right? And
It's really interesting. Everybody's having an opinion towards it, but the fact that it hasn't been seen in over 50,000 years of history that humanity has not gained back from our ancient traditions back again. It's really nice to see that, whatever that means in the energy of, and it's going to be in a interpersonal self as well as collective, what that means to a person. It's just depending on the energy that is being put out there.
So can I get you to code it for us? And for what you're sharing with the code, I'm going to have you find two numbers 1 through 12, two binary codes. Oh, goodness gracious.
1 through 12? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 8 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many numbers that want to come in.
Yes. 8.
7.
Okay.
Yeah, 8, 7. Because I have a 3 and a 4 that also want to come in. But yeah.
Okay, we'll take a look at all of those. So 8 and 7. So we're kind of looking at the binary code. I hope you can hear me. It looks like it's good. Okay. So we're looking at the binary code here, and 8 represents 0001, which is shamanic for you. So for you, the comet represents shamanic connection. And if I read it backwards, it's the connection that leads to your shamanic reality. Let's see here. Here we go. There we are. So in Light Body Evolution, what we do is code the binary to get more information. So yours is quite deep. 3 and 4, you're already reading our next numbers. We look at, and maybe we're channeling for the humanity at this time, because if they, did their best and didn't judge themselves always, that their best wasn't good enough, then they would feel more connected and more fulfilled. 3 and 4 comes through the heart's energy, that without trust we don't assemble from the heart. So what did I think Judith Kuzel, Todd was talking about it yesterday, and he said, she said, it's time to get real. It's time to really change it up.
Yeah, I love that. I think it makes a lot of sense, and specifically in where we're coming from, what we're stepping into, and where we're generating from in that moment from the heart space. Since overall, that's also the connection to the heart, the emerald, and the emerald of where we're coming for to do that, and what happens in that, even in the vibrational energy. Although we consider a lot of it being the heart emerald as well, we also think of it as a healing energetic space, which is essentially that divine space of love and everything else. And then of course we take it into the portion of the triple flame, the first flames. We're definitely stepping into the wisdom, that transmutation, that frequency of connection, to really step forward into alchemization in a whole different format that we've never done before. Well, in a long time, that we had forgotten. And we are coming back into that space of connectivity.
I love how you bring the flames into it. This process, when I first started teaching it, I called it opening the emerald heart. And the sacred flames represent the scalar waves that we must go through to burn off that lower frequency through our awareness. So that's very cool.
Well, I just came in to say hello and see how it's going. And I'm going to go ahead and continue flowing with the energy of what comes through. So I look forward to hearing more. But I'm really excited for this. Thank you for having me.
No problem. And if anybody wants to come on and do any live healing or live channeling and play with the code, that's what we're going to do here. And if you're looking for the Zoom link, it is on the Zoom. Thank you, Delia, for kicking it and supporting us. Love you. All right, everybody. Light Body Evolution. Let's just take a look. and see what we can bring forward in that energy while we're waiting on anybody else that wants to show up for live healing. And what am I really talking about live healing? This is how it works. Say you're having a big problem in your life. Say there's some confusion about what's going on. And I know there's plenty of that out there. Okay? I see that every day. So in Light Body Evolution, we look at the 144 validation patterns. And here's the reality. Giving does not equal receiving. Giving depletes our energy. And when we seek something outside of ourselves, we shut down from receiving in the back of the field. In the front of the field, there's so much personal stuff happening. And energetically, for all you energy healers out there, is that usually the energy comes in clockwise for most people, and they're trying to pull everything into them, which doesn't leave a lot of room to receive in the back of the field. So I'm not here to teach anybody a damn thing. I'm here to trick you into something. And what we are not receiving is exactly what I'm here to trick you into. And this is straight to the point. I usually call this no bullshit healing. And I have you read your own code. So if you want to come on, I'm not going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you to read your code and see if that relates. Just like Delia did with her connection to the comet, 8 and 7, shamanic connection. So she's really connecting into that shamanic frequency that this represents. And interestingly enough, the Hopi have a prophecy about this comet. Yeah. So, I don't know who's on with this, but let's just see what the energy wants us to really connect to. Because our binary code, our energy field, is one part of light body evolution. And the second part of light body evolution really connects now to the Toltec assemblage point system, which is a very different energy system and has to do with the way that you charge your feelings. So when we have a negative charge, we are protecting the self and defending the self. And I'm sure there are a lot of you out there that protection is something that you still do. But everything is vibrational in the healing world. So when we protect ourselves, we have to defend ourselves. Imagine that negative charge, I'm protecting and holding something out, and it's taken me a lot of energy to do so. A positive charge is when I feel depleted by something, and I always say, probably should, and I become Eeyore. So negative and positive charge is how we charge the emotional field. And the feelings in the assemblage points that we charge are made up of our pain body. And so our pain body, let's kind of deconstruct the pain body a little bit today. Because I want it to be really clear for you guys that rejection and resistance is the first part of the pain body. And through those things, we learn acceptance and appreciation. Judgment leads us to forgiveness and understanding. Control teaches us to trust. Facing our fears helps us understand the love that we are. Sorrow and abandonment help us embody joy, fulfillment. And what is the opposite of pain? Any ideas out there? Any ideas? What is the opposite of pain? 180 degrees from pain. And if you want to answer in the comments too, I'm not sure I'm seeing all of those, but you can. But pleasure is the opposite of pain. And your pain body and your light body have a scalar relationship. And what the hell do I mean by that? I mean that your pain body is exactly opposed your light body. And that going through our pain allows us to embody the light. And if we don't go through the pain and avoid it, then we really don't integrate our feelings. And if your feelings aren't integrated, then they probably aren't very useful. It's probably a shit show, actually, and super problematic. So mastering your feelings and understanding how to go through your feelings is part of what light body evolution does bring forward. And we're in that container right now. So I want to talk about the physics of gravity a little bit and how it all really connects together. And I think last week I did this because nobody else came on here. So, if you guys want me to talk about new stuff, then come on to the Zoom. We don't have to see you. We can just listen to you. And if you want to do some healing, and if any of the participants of the Light Body Evolution are listening and you want to play with us, of course, you are welcome also. Anyway, so let's get into gravity. So your feelings and those charges connected to your feelings create a wobble in your gravity. And like anxiety, heartache, all of those emotional problems, the major fears, fear of not having security, fear of what I cannot control, and fear of not having a deep connection, really allows us to understand the love that we are. And without going through those things, we may be a little detached from what we truly care about. And, I think a good topic for that for you guys today would be care versus concern. In the Toltec tradition, we look at concern very differently than we do in the West. Because in the West, don't you feel like being concerned means you care? Notice when someone has come to you and said, I'm concerned about you. Did it feel good? So, how can concern and care be the same feeling? Personally, I find them not to be the same feeling. And when concern is present, also control is present. So in the Toltec traditions, we see concern as control. And notice that when someone comes to you with that concern, they think that they know better than your destiny or the creator than you. And they're so assured that they have it all figured out for you. Which is an interesting thing, isn't it? So usually when people come to me and say, I'm concerned about you, I tell them they can shove that concern straight up their ass. And if they want to care about me, then no problem. And men may tell me that they're concerned because they care. And I say, well, maybe you should come back when that's a real thing. So concern is the abandonment of self, and care is the embodiment of self. And when we get concerned, we already put everybody else in front of ourselves. We already decided that we were going to put ourselves last. And so we won't be selfish, right? If you put yourself first, it means you're selfish, right? That's what the world says. But I would interject that putting everybody else in front of you has been the most selfish thing that you've ever done to yourself. So, back in 2011, I was introduced to some concepts, and I witnessed some things like levitation and some other interesting things that took me down a path to begin to look into the physics. And the physics of sound really, really came forward because the law of sympathetic vibration is a law that we all live by all the time. And you may recognize it in different ways, but how you feel is what you attract. And this law of sympathetic vibration says that like does attract like. Notice it didn't say opposites attract. It said like attracts like, which emotionally means that for myself, that if I know what I care about, then I also can share that care and attract that care into my life. Instead of seeking to do all of these things to get to the care, which doesn't seem to ever arrive there. And so I'm seeing some comments here from Susan. Hi, Susan. How are you? Been in a low funk for days. Of course, it is their fault. You just explained away my self-pity. Excellent. That's what light body evolution is about, is facing our self-pity, because pity is bullshit and not compassion. Also says, using Castaneda's vocabulary to explain my creativity and light body relate well to your descriptions. Thank you, Susan. If you want to work on that, I will play with you. And if you find my Facebook page, I know it's a little scary, you can come on. But yes, you know, when I met the chief of the Toltec people, after a ceremony, he said, I want to teach you something. And he says that in the Carlos Castaneda books, it is the Toltec wisdom. And I said, yeah, there's a lot of people saying that that wasn't real. And he said to me that, he said, my family are related to the shaman. He said that he is part of our family. So Don Juan was connected, and it was a pathway for me to really understand that their wisdom is there. And after I was initiated in a big honor into their ancestral traditions, many things came through those books that weren't in the pages. So, you know, the shamanic path is a path of harmony through conflict, just as the Toltec and the warrior path is. And if you're brave enough to face everything, you can create harmony. And this energy really shows up in the heart, harmony through conflict, and fulfillment in our lives, and happiness and joy literally comes through facing the conflict so that we don't regret what's going on. And looks like Susan is brave today, so we're going to promote her to the panelist and see if she wants to play. Excellent. Fabulous. Let's see here. I think we're right here. There we go. Okay. Hi, Susan. Can you hear me? And she may be having some problems there, so we'll wait on that until she's ready to come in. You don't have to turn on your camera if you don't want, but you can. There you
God.
are.
There you go.
Excellent. Okay. How's it going?
Yeah, I feel way better since I started listening to you talk.
Well, would you like to do some work?
Sure.
So this is how it works. Say if you came to my office, I would say, all right, Susan, give me 2 numbers, 1 through 12, for the biggest problem in your field. The biggest issue at this time.
2 numbers?
2 numbers, 1 through 9. I'm asking you to read your own binary code here.
Okay, that are the biggest problem in my field?
Right now, especially what you were talking about in that lower funk for the last couple days. Yeah.
Ooh. 2 and 8.
2 and 8. So let me describe 2 and 8. Okay, and it is your field, so feeling overwhelmed emotionally led to feeling like your best wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And we do this thing called blueprinting, where we read it backwards and look at the big picture. And it says that doing your best leads to sharing your value. So, you know, in this situation, you got devalued. And 8 tells me, too, that, you know, that thing about measuring ourselves against other people or them measuring against us. Mm-hmm. It's a hard thing to shift, isn't it?
Sometimes, not always, but sometimes.
Absolutely. What I usually say is that when we shift that, we're really developing our shamanic reality because we don't give a fuck anymore about anything. And then we get to embody the care. Everybody thinks we are concerned about what they think about. So
Yeah.
we found the code. Now we're going to go find the emotional charge. And this is the Toltec assemblage point system. So we're going to find two numbers, 1 through 9, for the alpha charge, where the emotional wobble begins.
2. Back at the 2.
2 and one more.
And one more.
Uh-huh.
3.
So 2 and 3 in the assemblage point system says that judgment and control, judgment and betrayal.
Very good.
You read it. I just read the code back to you. It's always exactly as you say.
Totally what it's about. Yeah.
And so that's where the charge pattern begins. Now we need to know where it ends. This is the omega charge, 2 numbers, 1 through 9.
6 and 9.
6 and 9. So you want to be liberated from the pain story, from feeling victimized or pissed off in the situation. You want to be liberated from it all. You're ready to tell everybody to fuck.
Sort of. Actually, I don't want to tell everybody to fuck off. I'm finding that I'm very annoyed with all those self-help techniques I used where, okay, you're negative, so I'm setting you out of my field.
Ooh.
It's just constant separation, and I don't
Yes.
see that anymore. So I don't know. It's weird.
Good. I think that's beautiful because notice if we don't face the charge and the problems, then we don't transmute it.
Yeah.
And people avoiding your negative or so-called whatever, good luck transmuting without the energy.
Yeah.
So now we're looking for the 0.1 letter A to Z for what you truly wanted to receive in this situation but never showed up.
One letter. Not a word, a letter.
A letter. We're going to bring words to the letter. Mm-hmm.
M.
M. Yeah. So here's the deal. I'm looking for the M word you can't find. And so I want you to start pulling forward some M words. Okay? I'm looking for the M word that's out of alignment with your reality. See, memory is magnetic.
Okay, I don't know. I'm just thinking. I don't know. Musty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Money.
Right?
Material.
Mm-hmm. So let's focus a little bit now for an M word for what you really wanted to receive in this situation, but didn't show up. And we already know that you aren't valued in this situation.
Mastery.
Ooh, yes. And what's an M word for value?
An M word for value.
Ooh, yes.
The only word I could think of is mystery, but that makes no sense.
It's close. And in science, we have light and M word. It makes up about 3% of the universe. And my desk here, matter.
Matter?
Do you matter?
Do I matter? That's another good one.
And meaningful comes up really strong too.
Meaningful matter, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if you're ready, we can collapse it because I'm pretty sure mastery, meaningful will literally collapse this program. Are you ready for that?
Okay.
So you may have to put the phone down, but I want you to get your hands shoulder width apart right out in front of you.
Okay.
Uh-huh. There we go. And in your right hand, we're going to call that alpha charge the judgment of control and pain. And in your left hand, we're going to call the understanding of trusting yourself and allowing yourself to feel good. pleasure. And we're going to align the collapsing field now with mastery. You know, mastery is an interesting thing because self-mastery and our vulnerability really comes together. Not open to attack, but open to share, where people can rise up to meet this or go F themselves is how I usually say it. So notice how the tendency in this situation was to detach emotionally from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to bring your hands a little closer together until you feel the bubble you can't push past.
Feel the bubble what?
That you can't push past.
Can't push past.
There we go. There it
Yeah.
is. Stay with it, and I want you to imagine really coming into your body. There we go. And follow that bubble.
Like it goes somewhere?
Well, it might. And
It might.
mm-hmm. Oh, it looks
Go on.
like it is. Mm-hmm.
You're
Excellent.
supposed to do-
Uh-huh.
It's getting smaller though.
Yes, it's getting much smaller. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't stretch. Yeah, it's like getting pretty small.
Excellent.
It's more like a grain of sand at this point.
So I want you to notice how you feel inside now. Describe it.
Self-possessed, calm, self-possessed, centered,
Yes. And is it very quiet inside of you?
quiet.
So I want to identify this energy as your silence. Silence.
As my what?
Your silence.
Silence. Yes, okay.
It is the only energy that meets the story.
Yeah. Yes.
And now there's space for you to receive and share. And so this is what we call the shareable pattern. 2 numbers, 1 through 12, are what you're ready to receive and share in your self-mastery of the meaningful matter.
2, 12. 5 and 7.
It says honesty leads to fulfillment.
Oh,
And what you resonate with and what you connect. So breathe in blue in the back of your throat and exhale white in your crown. And this is the resonance of your connection, the honesty, to not abandon yourself too. This is a really cool code because this one brings your health and your pineal gland, which makes, of course, all the hormones together. So if you got worked up in this situation or just down and felt like you weren't creating dopamine, when 7 comes in, you're making dopamine. Excellent.
that was cool. Thank you.
No problem. That's Light Body Evolution. It's quick. It's to the point. This is what we do every week. And I'm going to do this every week here. And if you want to use this as a resource, we will play with you.
All right. Thank you very much.
No problem. It was such a pleasure.
All right.
And you
Get out of
are
here.
our first. You are our first full session. So
Oh,
thank
yeah?
you. Thank you. Yes.
How do you align what are those numbers about?
So the
I can
numbers.
see the light body and assemblage and all that.
So the
pretty well.
numbers are binary.
Oh, okay.
So the 5 and 7 you gave me, that code is 11001000. And what I discovered in the African divination systems is that they work with the binary code. And I discovered that our energy system is exactly the same.
Hmm.
And when I lived with a high African priest, he would also get 2 codes. But what would happen is he became responsible for those people, and we would have to do the ceremonies, whether those people wanted to do the ceremonies or not. In this work, I have you read your own code. And in this work, you read nobody else's code. I read nobody else's code. I help you translate it because becoming personally responsibility for your emotional reality is super functional, as you know.
Does that plot points of assemblage?
Assemblage are the 1 through 9 that go across here. And what I discovered in the assemblage point systems is that they are scalar waves. But if your emotions are charging, or then you create a wobble in your magnetics, and you don't propagate your field properly. And most people, the problem why we don't produce endorphins enough is because our magnetics from the first energy, 6 energy centers down, really pulls us out of alignment or of feeling connected and fulfilled. So there's a lot that happens, but the binary is 16 binary patterns, but imagine you have 12 binary patterns in your field, and then you have 4 outside that have to do with how creation has continued. And in the universe, we call that energy gravity, electromagnetism, strong and weak nuclear forces. And if you've ever been to a big medicine wheel, like Sun Bear medicine wheel, you'll see 16 stones in the main wheel, because all the ancient traditions knew this code. And they worked with it like it was alive, because it is.
Can I ask one more question?
Absolutely.
How is a scalar wave different from what? Is it photonic? Is it?
So take your hands back up and ask your heart for a number 1 through 6, and bring them a little closer so you can feel it. Yeah, and bring your elbows in so they don't get tired. Give me a number 1 through 6.
3.
Okay, so we're going to build a scalar wave in your hands right now. Are you ready? In your right hand, and pull it a little apart, I want you to put control and betrayal and concern in your right hand. In your left hand, I want you to put trust. And I want you to let control and trust live in the same space. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like this. But okay.
Yeah. Notice instantly your energy went blue up.
Yeah.
And that's because in a scalar wave, when we put 2 opposite frequencies in the same space, it shapes the lower frequency. So when you brought the trust in to meet the control could not stand by itself. And the lower frequency got shaped. And notice that really all of our feelings have a duality. And there's really only 6 of those. And I didn't get that from the Toltecs. I got that from the Lemurians. I was in Mount Shasta, and all this was spinning in my head, and they finally said, they literally told me that the assemblage points are scalar waves. And I was like, what? And it took me a while to understand they were trying to show me how to put the opposite frequencies in the same space. And I started teaching that in 2009, and I thought that was going to be an easy thing that people got easily. And I remember one guy called me 5 years later and said, man, thank you. And I'm like, for what? He goes, I finally get it. And I'm like, oh, shit. I thought that was going to be an easy to feel 2 opposite feelings in the same space. But I find it is one of the hardest things, because as the human, we swing on the pendulum back and forth. And when you put the scalar around, now you have the totality of all your control and trust. And notice how control teaches you how to trust. Without trying to control everything, how would you know how to trust yourself? Like, if you've never been betrayed, how do you know how to trust yourself?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, could be. Yeah.
So what I found...
What about that part of the scalar wave that you can't get rid of, that stays?
Well,
even if
it actually changes the harmonic and the gravity. So, for example, that control doesn't exist when control meets it. Trust meets it. It doesn't exist in the same way. And in music, it's the same way. I have 2 gongs here that have that relationship. And so if I play the real deep one and it's too deep and it's overpowering, I just play this other one and it shapes its lower wave and it's not so overwhelming. So, like for example, when we charge control and we now are protecting ourselves from being betrayed, now we're having to defend, okay, everything. And if we're depleted by betrayal or control, then we feel like everybody's out to betray us and we can trust no one, including ourselves.
Right.
So this one's big because the Toltecs teach that without trust, we don't live in the heart. So if we're trying to control everything and we can't trust ourselves, then we really can't propagate the heart's harmonics properly.
Yeah. That was lovely.
It's a beautiful part of the tradition that is directed, and the chief, when you're around him, he's like a little kid. His energy is always present. And that's what he really teaches, is that presence and gratitude is the warrior's thing, And to be a warrior, you must learn to be present and see the gratitude in everything. But to do that, you have to face all of the emotions that we think aren't functional.
Yeah. It's really hard to give up this. Like, I really always hated the inverted world.
Right.
But it's really hard to give it up. Like, I loved it. I hated it. I loved it. But it can go. It'll go.
Yeah, it's kind of like transmuting that world, I think a lot of times we talk about 3D to 5D. And I will tell you, awareness of these scalar waves will allow you to live in your 5D presence in the 3D. And you can be around 3D people all day long, but if you are holding your awareness field, you're not on the pendulum. They are.
Yeah. It was really interesting why I got so upset. I mean, it just went right back into, like, way down, where I was flying for weeks, and then it was like, yeah, it was very interesting.
That code 2 is 0000 and represents the unseen world. And it represents feeling overwhelmed emotionally. And the biggest issues and the more tears that I've ever seen come from that code.
Yeah, because it kind of happened around a time I felt that there was a really big shift to the unknown. Like, now you're on. This is it. And that felt like pressure, I guess.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting when, we put ourselves out there and what the energy that comes up before that is really fascinating. When me and Todd get on the show, he kind of broke through last night and he was like, man, I'm not counting the minutes anymore. I looked up and it was almost over. I was like, oh, man.
That was really lovely.
Awesome. Yeah. Empowerment is everything. I always say if it's not empowering, it's bullshit.
Okay, I could do this. Things that used to empower me in my self-help life,
right,
are just impotent at this point.
Well,
I tried to empower myself in, like, the physical world. It just falls flat.
So imagine changing the word self-help to self-awareness. One thing I discovered in that whole idea of teaching spirituality, because I don't really think it can be taught. I'm here to trick people. It's a lot easier that way. And, that's what I tell them in the course, is that self-development isn't given. You only develop it. So you can't get bestowed this energy, and I know some people may think that's a thing. But what I've discovered is that when you begin to build the awareness field, you are organizing your light body and your emotional body. And one of the images, the flower of life, those 6 circles that come together, that is an image of your light body. And
Really?
that, yeah, absolutely. When that 6-pointed star shows up, that's the integration of our feelings. But imagine people's pain body don't look as pretty as that flower does. Okay? And they have to go through that pain to literally create the scalar awareness for these 6 parts of their pain body. And, you know, I think before I found the Toltec assemblage point system, when I was doing the deep emotional work, taking people into their hearts and what is the heart's desire, and we would follow that, all the things that I learned in the 6 dualities of our feelings from the Toltec traditions lined up with what I was seeing my clients going through, especially around, you know, their fears, abandonment, and all of those things that. And what I'm getting to is that you can't build connection on concern. Concern doesn't lead to connection. And what's really interesting is that the whole world thinks being concerned means something besides stress. And it's all it means to me, okay? Because none of it's real, and your body doesn't know the difference if you're in the situation or not. And, you know, I always tell this, probably too much, that my mother, she's a Cancer, and she always tells me what she's concerned about. And, you know, that's her nature. So what I do is tell her what I care about when she goes into her concerns. And what I find is she tells me less and less what she's concerned about, and we actually talk. So one of my techniques is to meet the concerns with care. Don't get rid of the concerns. Tell the concerns what you care about. It's the drop the mic statement. That all these concerns are fine, but they're the same as monkeys flying out of my butt. But this is what the fuck I care about.
Yeah.
Where you're not going to betray yourself. And I think we come to that point as we get older that we don't want to betray ourselves anymore at all. And understanding how that works, it's not that complicated, but life and our experiences, especially the ones where we gave away trust and then decided to trust no one, including ourselves, was huge, you know. And what's the percentage of the population that got betrayed and didn't learn to trust themselves? You know, and then carry that into their relationship unfulfillment, carry it into everything, and try to build connection with people on concern.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a counterfeit or something. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it's like, I have to go too. But person, in all my self-pity and stuff, I'm trying to build a person. And I never felt like a person. And ever in my entire life, I'm not a person. I create a person, and then and all that negativity is like creating a person, and it doesn't work because I never feel like a person, even when I spend all my time trying to create one.
You know, I find that holding on to receiving is one of the hardest things. You know, it's just a simple concept, isn't it? But holding on to it shows us where our dialogue wants to perpetuate the story. So what you're talking about in Light Body Evolution is dissolving your personal history.
Yeah.
And what
I've done a lot of recapitulation.
Right, recapitulation. What I discovered is that when you receive, you have no story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, I tie it to your breath because none of our feelings are tangible. Okay? There's no feeling on this planet that you can hold in your hand. But notice that's what we want the most out of life. But we think that doing is going to magically make the vibrational world come. And I'm going to make this plan. And then I'm going to receive. And this is how the dialogue blackmails us. It's really good at blackmail. It says you can receive if this happens. And it does it emotionally with us on such deep levels that, you know, most, like, of course, psychotherapy, you talk about the story and then you go home and wonder why you feel like shit. Because the emotion was not addressed. You didn't go through the feeling, you fed the dialogue. And I find that once we decide to move past why things happened, we move into the purpose. And why is such bullshit, isn't it?
That's cool, actually, yeah. So, can I say one more? One more question?
Sure.
So I get stuck between misidentifying dimensions and stuck between dimensions. So it's getting to this point where in a higher dimension, I'm beginning, like, I could just be crazy. I could just be schizophrenic. I don't what, like, but there's trust and it's almost always evidenced and stuff. And then I switch to, well, you're just making it up. It's not real. But it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like imagination. It feels real. But then if I look outside, there may be no reflection of it. Sometimes there is, but sometimes there isn't. And then that's when I start playing, like I want to abandon the higher dimensions for the lower, right?
Right.
But,
dimensionality is an interesting thing, and a lot of people get into that whole density thing. But personally, I fall into the string theory and kind of what's close to that. I don't know if you're familiar with Barbara Hand Clow's work. She wrote a book called The Alchemy of the Nine Dimensions.
mm-hmm.
But let me describe the dimensions to you a little bit. And here's the thing, too, is that when you're grounded and connected to the Earth's energy and the heart of the Earth, then the multidimensional frequencies can come into your body easily. When they're not, it can spin you and do all kinds of weird things. So I find that very sensitive people like yourself are more sensitive to what I call the multidimensional energy.
I'm a potter, actually. Stick my hands in.
To ground yourself, yeah? Absolutely. So here are the 9 dimensions. The first dimension is a point of origin, the core of the Earth. The second dimension is the elemental world. The third dimension are the particles that are made up by the elements. The fourth dimension is the vibration that is also the particle, because the particle is only a particle if you intend to look at it. If you close your eyes or look away, it becomes a waveform, a vibration. And then that fifth dimension is pure love that intersects all the other dimensions, and there's no emotional wobble here. This is awareness. Sixth dimension is the morphogenic field. Seventh dimension are the strings behind everything. And eighth dimension is the divine mind, like the star consciousness through our stars. And the ninth dimension would be waves of time.
Waves of time.
Mm-hmm. That can expand or contract. Yes. Alchemy of the Nine Dimensions, Barbara Hand Clow. I love her book. The Palladians said that how they look at the universe, that string theory is probably the closest thing. Absolutely. And I found that simplifying the dimensional reality, especially with all the density this and the density that, which comes from some other work, the Law of One. So that's another kind of reference. And and I find sometimes there's a little confusion in that, but, dimensionality is simple. If you can get your vibration to pulse, just like your breath does, then the upper dimensions are working. So sometimes what you could do is when you sit down in your meditation and you feel like it's not grounded properly, put your heart in between your hands until it lines up. And what you'll see is that sometimes it'll tilt in your hands. It'll show you literally the polarity of it. And when you verticalize it and it gets vertical, now you're going to open up to all that dimensional stuff and be able to embody it through the lower dimensions. It's like a toroidal field, but the field has to be verticalized for the energy to propagate into the field properly. And that's when the heart's harmonics, which is the richness of the sound of the heart, really comes forward. And there's 5 things that misalign the harmonics of the heart. self-punishment, getting real pissed off, running away from things, feeling powerless, and protection. All misalign the harmonics of the heart.
Harmonics of the heart.
It's the
Wow.
richness. You know, in science, the echocardiogram, I think it's Dan Winters that proved that when they take the echocardiogram of the heart, if your heart has harmonics, you have a healthy immune system. If it doesn't, you have an autoimmune disease.
Interesting.
Isn't it? I think that is a big thing. And, you know, we work magnetically here. So, you know, we're not doing medical stuff because medical doesn't really work magnetically. So, you know, they'll ask me and I'm like, yeah, this is out of your scope of practice. We're working magnetically. We're working with the magnetics.
Yeah.
And our system is very magnetic. Imagine the chromosomes are little magnetic axes.
Oh, okay.
They are literally magnetic in their shape, and the shape of something and its frequency and resonance are exactly the same thing. So getting our heart to propagate the harmonics properly means that we are here to do our best. We also know what our authenticity and integrity is. We also can face and transform things without running away and creating power struggles that we don't resolve. And being empowered, embodied, and also open for people to meet us here or not, up to them. See, the protection thing is such a big problem in the spiritual community, and that energy is trapping in our field what we're trying to avoid. And here's my big question for everybody on that one. When you protect yourself, do you have to defend?
That was the question.
You know? Yeah. And, you know, who likes being defensive? You know, ladies, you don't like when your man's defensive. Believe me, I know. But imagine that instead of protecting, which I think I had a class this weekend and I said that real protection is wisdom head to toe.
Okay.
You know, the wisdom of self, the wisdom of what you care about, the wisdom of where you're not betraying yourself, the wisdom of your awareness. Now that...
Like wisdom is, no, protection is transmission. If I'm,
yeah.
if the light is coming through me, from me, like that.
Yes. Shareable. Notice that giving depletes you, and in the physics, what you receive equals what you share. So notice why receiving is very important. In science, we call it a shareable wave. It's a wave that adds and subtracts at the same time. So I'm receiving care and I'm sharing it at the same time, and mutual benefit becomes my reality now.
Yeah.
Yes, equality does not come from giving, it comes from sharing. So I usually tell people, stop giving a damn thing to anybody and only share, and you will always be happy because it's mutual. Everybody benefits. You benefit, they benefit. And that's how you know it's shareable.
Yeah. I could talk to you forever, but I have to go do a circle with Morgan now.
No problem. I'm cutting this close. And but yeah, we're going to be here every week. So if you want to come play, and we do this 2 hours every week in the course on the Quantum Resonance Institute. And there's over probably 200 hours of back content. There's meditations.
Quantum Resonance Institute?
Yeah, Quantum Resonance Institute, and you'll see the Light Body Evolution. That's where we do that. But yeah, I wanted to get on here. We've been doing it this will be the 3rd year. So every week we collapse stuff, and it's all about getting you to learn how to collapse and also learning how to use it if you want to work with clients, because most of the people taking the course have been healers for a long time, and they experience this work with me, and then they're like, I have to learn this. And some of the ladies 2 years ago really pushed me to, we're doing this.
No, right. Sounds fantastic. I will check it out.
Awesome. No problem. It
Thank
was
you so
such a
much. That was
pleasure.
wonderful.
All right. Have a great evening. Tell Morgan we said hi.
Okay.
All right.
I have to get out of here now. Leave.
Okay, you guys. So, light body evolution. That was super fun. I love having the conversation. So, I'm going to close it out here. But next week, this is happening, same time. And if you look on my page, I'm going to start putting out some cartoons of some clips that we put out. I think this last one was called Binary Generator. It came from a course on sympathy versus empathy. Yes, equality comes from sharing, not giving. Good, excellent, excellent. Notice how our whole world thinks that what we give should create equality, and that's kind of our problem. But how we put ourselves first means we have something to share. Think about a relationship of someone that can share care with you, or they share concern, which isn't that shareable. Ooh. Okay. It's been such a pleasure. Thanks for hanging out with us. Light Body Evolution. Yeah. All right. All right. Love you guys, and have a great evening. And we'll catch you next time.